Hello and welcome back to another edition of Night Talk here on Annunciation Radio. My name is Eric Loprete. Hope everyone is having a great Saturday morning so far. On this show, we have always strived to keep you informed and make you aware of what is going on in the Toledo areas. One of the ways that we want to continue to do this is to introduce our leadership here in the Knights of Columbus for the Toledo Diocese, and today is going to be no exception, as we are pleased to be joined. And we've been trying to get him for a while, folks, but we finally got him. We finally got him nailed down. My guest today is a former district deputy as well as the current vice president of the Toledo Chapter and a member of St. Joseph Maumee Council 11370, Mr. Gregg Davis.
Hello, hello.
How are you doing today, sir?
Wonderful. How are you?
I am good. I'm so glad we were finally able to get you on the program. We've only been trying for about a year now, but
how long ago that? Close.
But nonetheless, we are glad to have you on here today, and
thank you.
Looking forward to this interview. Before we do get started, we, as always, we begin in prayer, and I know we've got some ministries going on. So in light of that, my wife, the prayer that she picked out today is blessing our ministries and our ministers. So in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, Lord Jesus, in your mission here on earth, you invited all who believe in you, as you once called the apostles to do. Please continue to invite and inspire missionaries to go out to all the world. May people everywhere follow your example of lending a hand and spending a moment, because every person matters. Lord Jesus, I ask for your blessing upon your mission servants among all who strive for peace. Wherever they go, may hope in you endure and love be its mainstay. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Katie, thank you once again. That was a beautiful prayer. And now back to my guest. Once again, we are on with the current vice president of the Toledo chapter, Mr. Gregg Davis. And Gregg, how are you doing on this Saturday morning?
I am blessed.
Do you need a refreshing on your coffee?
I am good.
Excellent. Well, then let's go ahead and jump right into it. Once again, welcome back into Night Talk here on Annunciation Radio. My name is Eric Loprete, and one more time, my guest today is Mr. Gregg Davis. So, Gregg, I really, as I always do, I always like to hear people's stories. I always like to hear how they got involved in the Knights, and I'd be very interested to hear how you got involved in the Knights.
Well, it's actually pretty good, and it goes back to 2018 when I decided to be curious more about the Catholic faith and where I want to go with my future. I was doing an EMT class with Owens, and I started RCA in September.
Okay.
So, and my wife was my sponsor. So she's been through this journey with me from day one.
How wonderful. You guys got to share that experience
Absolutely.
together.
It was beautiful. So, long story short, came up short on the EMT side. Okay, I can live with that. So I go through RCA, sitting there wondering, how can I serve my community? What can I do? What can I do? So I'm going through, and then in comes our knight, Frank Kohler. Talks about pancake breakfast that's coming up, come on down, get some food. Then he talks about being a knight and what they do. Right then and there, I was like, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. So from that point forward, I became a knight, went through my first degree at All Saints, my second and third at Grand Rapids, and fourth degree. So through that journey, I have been a deputy grand knight.
That's right.
A grand knight, and obviously, a district deputy, and warden for the chapter, and now vice president.
So I guess, as an incoming Catholic, and first off, we want to thank your wife, Krista. You guys celebrated an anniversary not too long ago, correct?
We did. Actually, 10 years on the 17th.
Oh, well, congratulations. Thank you. Krista, thank you so much for helping Gregg on his journey into Catholicism. It seems like you were a wonderful, positive impact, especially
Absolutely.
on Gregg's faith.
Yep.
But now, as far as you becoming a knight during this time in which you're embracing Catholicism, how did involvement in the Knights impact you spiritually? Did it add on to what you were kind of going through already? Did it help in your journey a little bit?
It did, because of the fact that I can go out to the community and we can do events like a pancake breakfast or a food drive or whatever we decide to do as a council or as a parish, and go out and talk to the people, try to encourage younger men to get involved in the Knights.
And it's really just an honest conversation, isn't it? And that's the easiest part about it. And, as we do this show, we've mentioned this a lot, and I think we've definitely beaten the subject quite a lot through time. But I guess really, as you became more involved in the Knights and you got to go out to the community and you got to be that positive impact and start speaking to more young men, as you started to do that, what did you really recognize as the Knights' greatest contribution to society? I mean, obviously we have a lot, but what was kind of like your main selling point as you were starting to go out there and talk to other young men?
Well, before I always do that, I always want to say, and I always think this of myself, if I go approach this young man, what do I have them to do? What is there for them to do at the council level? Because I don't want to sign somebody up and then they just sit around and I'm waiting to do something. What are we going to do? So I want to have something planned for them. So we have a lot of programs with our parish, off the streets, stuff like that.
Yes,
some of our council members help with that.
Incredibly active council.
Oh, absolutely. So I try to get them involved, try to get their story. Like, where are they at in life right now? Where do they want to be? Kind of like mine.
Yeah. So, with that being said, as you were kind of going along, what's one thing that you kind of, really recognized in the Knights that maybe you were kind of surprised by?
How much involvement one council can be. How much where you see people, you have a long list of roster. You see certain people at a meeting, which is fine because they have to come to a business meeting. It's mainly officers.
Right.
When I tell people, if we get a new person to sign up and I say, I don't want to see you at a meeting. I don't want them to take it personal. I want to see them at an event, or like a pancake breakfast or a food drive, helping out the community, stuff like that. If they want to come to the meetings, awesome. Come in and hang out. But I would just like to see them grow as an individual to whatever council they go to.
And it's incredible the experience that young men can have in the Knights.
Absolutely.
A lot of young men, and especially was another point that we've brought up many, many times on this show, is it's getting harder and harder to be a Catholic man in this world.
Yeah.
We're really called to hold fast to the things that we believe in. And I really believe that the Knights of Columbus, and I'm sure you would agree, is an entity that is able to help those young men.
It is, because if you don't ask, you don't know. And that's always been the main thing that I've been told from higher up officers. If you don't ask, you don't know.
Right.
If they tell you, no, I'm too busy at the time, okay, well, approach him 6 months later down the road. Or just follow up with him and see how he's doing, what's going on with you. Because I see a lot of parents at the pancake breakfast with their families, which is great.
Yes.
It takes 5 minutes to flip a pancake. So that's all we need. We're not asking for a whole day. Give me an hour. And we're accepting that. That's great. Give me an hour a day or a week for different events that we do. And
it's so amazing, and I think, people don't realize, we all get busy in our lives. We all, majority of us have wives and children, and we have our jobs that we have to hold down, but it really only takes an hour out of your month to really make that impact. Mm-hmm. And just in any of the nice things that we do, whether it's off the streets or whether it's supporting the seminarians, we are always on that forefront of trying to be as active as we can be. What are some of the other positive impacts that you think that we have on a young man who may just be like yourself, entering into a new faith?
That's a good question. I guess it goes back to that young man and where he wants to go with it. There are different programs out there, Into the Breach. They can go start that. That's a good one to start as you're coming into the Catholic faith, I believe. And just getting him involved and just showing up. Just show up to an event and we'll take care of you. We'll guide you where you need to go. We'll introduce you to fellow brother knights that are out there. And just have the camaraderie together. Just have the little talk and little get to know you type of thing.
Yeah.
And then they can make the decision from there whether they like to continue on to it or not.
And once they join, they're not just joining one individual council.
Right.
They are joining a group of men that forms the largest fraternal organization in the world and one of the most charitable organizations in the
Absolutely.
world. And I know we really try to push that, especially as we try to get new people involved. But let's kind of change track here a little bit. We are on currently with Mr. Gregg Davis, who is the vice president of the Toledo Chapter. And, Gregg, as we were kind of looking at, how you got involved in the Knights and how that's really kind of transformed your faith. But what does it mean to hold, and I know you've held a lot of positions. I mean, as you said, you're the Grand Knight, Deputy Grand Knight, District Deputy, now you're the Vice President. What does it mean that people think enough about you to hold these positions?
That's a great question. Hopefully I can help them, direct them at where they need to go as a council or as an individual. With the chapter, we got a great group of officers.
Yes, we
with
do.
Our leader, Matt Stapleton, is our president. Greg Singler is our secretary. Ray Darr is our treasurer. And Dave Lewis is our warden. I believe Matt has another year as president. And he's doing an awesome job. We're trying to get more councils involved in events as a chapter. And what I mean is go out and do fundraisers. That's what we want to do. We want to do at least one in the spring, one in the summer, possibly one in the fall if we can get 3 involved. But that takes a lot of commitment, and it takes a lot of work from the councils to get involved with that. So that's where we are right now, trying to get things lined up as far as events go, if that's where you're going.
Yep.
With the councils, and get them involved, and maybe one day they can sit up there and take over and be a leader of the chapter.
And I think you really kind of hit the nail on the head at the very end there. We want them to take over. We recognize that we're not going to be here forever. We need younger men to take our positions eventually one day in order to continue the Knights of Columbus. And without those young men joining, that well is going to dry up. But and I think we have done a lot of great work, especially on the chapter level, of trying to improve communication and just getting things out there and encouraging participation, not just within your own council, but with other councils as well. Mm-hmm. And what does that mean to you that you could call up any brother knight from any council, because you've been involved with the Knights for a long time. You know a lot of people. What does it mean that you can call anyone up from any council and know they're probably going to come out and help you?
Because that's what they chose to do. That's what their faith is leading them to do, is help other brothers out. Leave no neighbor behind.
Absolutely.
So, and I like that, and I respect that. Any council I go to and ask for help, I never got told no. And that is amazing. That is beautiful, and that's how it should be.
Absolutely. We're on with Gregg Davis, who is the vice president of the Toledo chapter. It's been a wonderful interview. We're going to kind of get into some of his goals and more into his office as we continue. You're listening to Night Talk here on Annunciation Radio.
Every parent and grandparent wants what's best for their family. In days gone by, Americans could be confident that this great country of ours was in better shape for their children than it was for them. That is no longer the case. Our once great country is in serious trouble. There's a nationwide effort underway to fight back with spiritual weapons. The Catholic Prayer Partners Initiative invites you to join them. To learn more, visit CatholicPrayerPartners.org. That's CatholicPrayerPartners.org.
Welcome back into Night Talk, everyone. My name is Eric Loprete here on Annunciation Radio. We are currently sitting with the Vice President of the Toledo Chapter, Mr. Gregg Davis, and we're going to get right back to that interview. But first and foremost, got to take care of our council announcements. The date for the Priest Appreciation Dinner has been set for April 29, 2025 at Greystone Hall. Cost is $40 a meal. Bishop Thomas will be attending. St. Rose Council is hosting a men's night out at Greystone Hall on November 25th from 5 until 10 p.m. The cost is $35 for registration. Money raised will go to the CYO. Please join us for fun, good times, fun and card games, and there will even be a raffle as well. BG Council will be having their basketball three-throw contest at St. Al's Hartman Hall on February 2nd. Registration is at 1:30. Competition starts at 2 p.m. The deadline for Keep Christ and Christmas posters is December 19th. Please join us for Meet the Candidates Night at the Toledo Chapter meeting here, meeting that's going to be on April 17th at St. Pat's of Heatherdowns, as we will hear from both gentlemen running for state warden, Mr. Greg Singler and Mr. Stu Vedder. Wood County Special Olympics dinner will be November 1st at Glass City Boardwalk from 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. The cost is $100 a ticket, which buys a meal and entry into the raffle. River East Mother Teresa Council will be having their Christmas party on December 21st at 5 p.m. Mass in the basement at St. Ignatius. Catholic School Scholarship Fund contest deadline is the last Friday in November. And lastly, Off the Streets drop-off points at St. Joseph Maumee is every Saturday from 8 until 12 p.m. at the church parking lot. And at St. Ignatius, the drop-off point is the last Saturday of the month from 11 until 2. That's going to do it for council announcements. Once again, we are on with Mr. Gregg Davis, the Vice President of the Toledo Chapter. It's been a really good interview so far, Greg, and I look forward to the second part of this. We briefly hit on this before the end of the first segment, but as Vice President, what goals does the leadership have for the councils for the rest of this year?
Well, it's kind of a tough question because a lot of people are busy.
Right.
We like to see a good turnout for council or chapter meetings because the more people we get involved, the more we can plan. Because if they're not involved, they're not there, they don't know.
Right.
Cut and dry. So we just have to communicate together, get together with Matt and Dave and Ray and Greg, and sit down and plan. I think we're planning for next year already.
Yes, we are.
For events to come up. I like to do a summer picnic. Get everybody involved, do a summer picnic somewhere, get all the councils, have some games, hot dogs, hamburgers, stuff like that. We did do a euchre tournament this year. Could have been a little bit better. I'd like to try that again. So just to get people out and about to do things and meet people and have the fellowship with other Brother Knights and their families and get their stories and just be one big happy family.
And that's what we're called to be, just one big Christian community family. But I will say one thing, if there is one thing in this world that confounds me, it is still the game of euchre. I have watched that game be played 15 times, and I still have no idea what you guys are doing.
We'll help you out.
Okay.
You just have to come out.
I'll come to the next one, and hopefully somebody can teach me, because I still don't know. All I see is cards slamming on the table. That's all I see, and people getting angry. So, but, you as you just said, you guys are kind of sort of planning some of these things. So what are you kind of hoping can help you achieve these goals for this coming year?
A lot of commitment from other councils. A lot of, hey, I can help you out for a couple hours. Sign me up. That's what I want to hear. That's what Matt wants to hear. And that's all we need. And we'll take care of the rest. We will guide, like I said before, we'll guide you to where you need to go, and we can help you out. It's like off the streets, okay? So if you have a drive in your church, you want to drop stuff off, and we need people to go there, we can direct them there to help you out. And they might get a kick out of it. They might, oh, this is awesome. I can do this. And then you have another volunteer. Then it's word of mouth. Then it goes to the next person and down the road.
It's amazing to see a new night, and I'm sure you've seen this as well. But when you see a person who's just joined the Knights of Columbus and they do start to come out to events, they don't leave. They keep coming back.
We do. We have a couple of ours at our council that are brand new, that are really getting involved. And one of them, his name is Don, brand new guy, very nice guy, and he wants to bring back the core. He wants to do a core Into the Breach series. So he's in the works of working with, obviously Father Eric to get the permissions and stuff like that. And we'll have Aaron Meir involved, who is involved in that on the state level, to get him where he needs to go so he can take charge of that and bring more people in to the church for that series.
And I gotta say, we had Aaron on the show a couple weeks ago. Yep. Wonderful interview, and CORE is just that you're absolutely right. CORE is one of those programs that councils can use to really show men how the Knights of Columbus can affect their faith and make it stronger and make their family life stronger.
Right.
And, the one thing we always want to impress upon everyone is when you come to a Knights event, we want you to bring the family. This is not just you have to come out and help. We want to see your whole family there.
Exactly.
There are no secrets in the Knights of Columbus. There are no hidden passageways or secret handshakes or, but we want everyone involved. We want you to be able to go home and tell your family, I helped the community today because I went and helped with Off the Streets,
yep.
or I went and I supported a breakfast that helped seminarians. And then, next time maybe your family comes out too, and we get a chance to know them as well. And I think that's a really important point that you just made there. So moving on, what are some of the ways that you, just yourself, believe that councils and individual knights can improve on, ultimately making us a stronger organization?
Biggest thing is communication. That's huge. If you guys don't have communication within yourself or with your councils, you won't know what you can do as a council. You won't see how far you can go. And it starts there. It starts with the communication. Get people involved. Engage conversations. Don't go to a meeting and just sit there and just listen to the meeting and then leave. Engage with your fellow brother knights. See what they're doing. See what's going on with them. If they need help with anything.
And one of the things I've always noticed about councils that are successful is just what you've just said. They do something after the meeting where it is a celebration of not only friendship but a brotherhood. Mm-hmm. Where people can sit for a half hour or 45 minutes after the meeting and they can just hang out with their brother knights.
It's like one of the councils that I have that you now have is Bowling Green.
Yes.
And I always say this wherever I go. They have a Knights Night Out every month.
Yes, they do.
And they go out and they get people. They get a lot of people at their event and they show up and they get memberships out of it because their membership has gone up within the last 2 years, at least 50%.
Yeah, they do. They are having some incredible numbers out there in Bowling Green. That's absolutely right. And I was actually just at their Knights Night Out last week. Fantastic time. Mm-hmm. They really do have a good time together, and they really work. And it's not just all play though. It's right. They really work hard, and they really put forth a lot of effort to make themselves not only noticeable within the community, mm-hmm. but also to make sure that Christian values are being carried out within the community as well.
Absolutely.
So hats off to you boys, and it's been a good interview so far. We're sitting here with Mr. Gregg Davis, who's the Vice President of the Toledo Chapter. Gregg, we got a few minutes left, and I really would just kind of like to ask you a few personal questions about the Knights. And sure. What are your favorite parts about being a Knight?
What I can do for the community, and in the 4 things of the Knights is
patriotism.
Yep.
Fraternity.
Unity. And what's in unity? Community.
Absolutely.
It's right there. It spells out for you right there. And if you go out and talk to somebody, they appreciate it so much. What I do in past, as I had appreciation picnic dinners for the public service, and we go out there and we set them up and we had to cook hot dogs and hamburgers. I would love to do that with our council, with any council who wants to do that, to go help out the public service, because it's a thankless job that's 24/7. They work their tails off for the city, the community, whatnot, and they need to be appreciated more. So I'm working on that with our council coming up probably next summer. I'm going to try to put a picnic together or at the chapter and see what we can do.
Well, I think that's a wonderful idea, and we'll definitely have you back on as we get a little bit closer to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gregg, it's been a wonderful interview so far. Once again, we are on with the Vice President of the Toledo Chapter, Mr. Gregg Davis, and we're just kind of discussing how Knights can be more involved and what things that we can look forward to coming up next year. As you said, we have a tremendously strong leadership in the Toledo Diocese. Not just on the chapter level, also on the state level as well. And going back to a point that you just made is serving the community, but doing it as a group of Catholics. There's nothing stronger in this world, and I'm sure you would agree, than seeing 20 knights at an event.
Absolutely.
And they're all just helping out.
Absolutely.
What's that mean? I mean, what's kind of your feel? Like, how do you feel when you see that?
I think that's awesome because we hold chicken barbecue dinners twice a year.
Yes, we do.
At our council, and we get a lot of people that come out. And you don't see them at the meetings, which is fine. And that's always been my thing. If I don't see you in a meeting, that's fine. Come to an event, I'll appreciate you there. And they they bring their kids. They get their kids involved. And this is great because it's passing down what they have onto them, hopefully down the road when they turn 18, and they can take it up and then continue on that tradition.
You know, as I've grown in the Knights, my favorite people have always been the ones where, yeah, my dad was a knight. Yeah, my grandfather was a knight. And they took me to church and I saw the robes and all the things that the knights did. How does that, to know that there is that other generation that is starting to come into play and to take over, that's got to be a very positive sign to you.
It is. And it starts with family. It starts with the morals of the family at home. A lot of families go to church together. That is true. You know, if dads go to their meetings, kids go to baseball, the kids are busy in sports, and I get that. But when you're 18, what do you want to do? Where do you want to start your career? I mean, your goals. And if you're really good in your faith and stuff like that, join the Knights of Columbus, and we can guide you to where you need to go.
Excellent. Greg, we have about 30 seconds left. Which biblical figure would you like to have lunch with and why?
St. Michael. Reason being, because when I was in RCIA, I was told that St. Michael helped the sick. And that time I was going through EMT. I was like, yep, that's and I think that's great. I think he's there helping what I'd like to do, and I'll still continue to do it, even if I'm not in a position to be an officer or whatnot. I'll still help where I can, when I can. That's anywhere. Outside of the church, outside of a meeting, stuff like that. So, yeah, I think St. Michael would be a good one.
Well, as always, that's an excellent answer. Mr. Davis, I want to thank you for coming on today. It's been a wonderful interview. You are always available for people to help, and how can people contact you?
They can they can call me anytime. Give my phone number if they want, or my email. You can call me at 734-620-1174, or my email is hunterfiremaddog@yahoo.com.
Awesome. Greg, once again, thank you so much, and thank everyone out there for listening. This has been another edition of Night Talk here on Annunciation Radio. We'll see you next weekend.